So, oil is back above $100. Stocks are wobbling, and markets are heading into a shortened week. Not exactly the calm start investors were hoping for. Hey everyone, it's Tuesday morning, March 31st, and welcome back to Capital Markets Quickie. I'm your host, Endrit Sella, here to break down yesterday's market action in just 2 minutes. Quick note before we dive in. Today's episode is brought to you by AMF Capital Asset Management Frankfurt. Learn more about our funds and strategies at amf-capital.de. All right, let's get started. U.S. equities stayed under pressure to kick off the week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average actually managed to close slightly higher, up about 0.1%. But that's where the good news pretty much ends. The Standard & Poor's 500 turned from green to red and finished down 0.4%, while the Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.7%. So yeah, tech continues to feel the heat here. And importantly, both the Nasdaq and the Dow are now sitting in correction territory, which tells you sentiment is still pretty fragile. Now, if you zoom into sectors, semiconductors were a big drag again. Micron and SanDisk led the declines, extending last week's weakness, so the chip space is clearly not finding its footing just yet. But the real headline yesterday? Oil. U.S. crude pushed above $100 for the first time since 2022, with Brent closing above $112 and West Texas Intermediate settling just above $102. And the driver here is geopolitical again. Comments from President Donald Trump suggesting the U.S. could take control of Iran's oil industry indefinitely really added fuel to the fire, literally. So, rising oil, rising uncertainty, not exactly a great combo for risk assets. Looking ahead, this week is all about the labor market. Investors are watching data like job openings, private payrolls, and of course the big March jobs report. Now, here's the twist. Markets will be closed on Friday for Good Friday. So all that data is getting squeezed into a shorter window, which could amplify volatility. And after the pretty choppy start to the year in employment data, this report carries even more weight. On the corporate side, keep an eye on Nike. Their earnings could give us a read on consumer strength. And then you've also got companies like USA Rare Earth and Trilogy Metals, which will give insight into the broader minerals and resources space. So overall, a pretty tense setup, weaker equities, higher oil, and key macro data ahead, all packed into a shortened week. All right, that wraps up today's Capital Markets Quickie. Join me again tomorrow morning for more market updates. See you then.